Welcome. Thank you everyone for joining us at the Trinity County Fire Safe Council meeting for September 23rd at 1 p.m. So we're going to start with introductions. Please ask the person or name the person next to go.
Yes.
So my name is Amelia Flights. I'm the Watershed Program Manager for the Trinity County Resource Conservation District, and I'm the Trinity County Fire Safe Council Coordinator, and I'm going to move to Kelly Sheen.
Hello, everyone. Kelly Sheen, District Manager for the Trinity County Resource Conservation District, and I'm going to pass to Dylan.
Hello, everyone. Dylan Sheedy here, Watershed Research and Training Center, Forest Fuels Program Director. Pass it on to Dave.
Dave, you're muted.
Howdy, I'm Dave Johnson, the Forest Health Coordinator at the Trinity County Resource Conservation District. I'll pass it on to Maya Williams.
Hi, I'm Maya Williams. I'm the Education and Outreach Coordinator for the Trinity County RCD. I will pass to Marla.
Hi, I'm Marla Walters, Grants Manager at Trinity County RCD. I'm not sure who to pass to though, I'm sorry.
We'll go to Chris.
Thank you.
So this is Chris Cole from the Trinity County Resource Conservation District. I'm the Forest Health Program Manager, and I have with me.
I'm Bethany Llewellyn. I'm a Grizzly Corps member serving with the RCD in the Forest Health Program. I'm sitting in with Chris today.
And I'll go ahead and pass to Xander.
Xander went dealing with some computer issues, but he is a new Forestry and Fuels Program Associate here at the Watershed Center. He grew up in High Palm, went to school at Cal Poly, and is here to do good work in Trinity County. We'll pass it on to Richie.
Good afternoon, Richard Raposa, Fuels Tech for the BLM Reading Field Office. And I'll pass it off to Jeremy Straight.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jeremy Straight, Fire Mitigation with the BLM Reading Field Office. And I'm not sure who to pass it off at this point to, but anybody out there that hasn't introduced themselves?
All right, how about Daryl?
Yep. Daryl Meyer here, resident of Ruth Lake, member of the Southern Trinity Volunteer Fire Department Board of Directors, and also a member of the exploratory group that's looking at possibly setting up a fire safe council in the Southern Trinity area.
Welcome, Daryl. All right. All right, Larry Winter, you're next door.
Yes, Larry Winter, the High Palm Fire Safe Council. I'll pass it on to Kent Collard.
Hi, I'm Kent Collard, owner director at Bar 717 Ranch and member of the High Palm Fire Safe Council and also an RCD board member. I'll pass it off to Tim Ritchie.
Hi, everyone. It's Amanda Beardsley. I'm actually sitting in for Tim today. He should be back around 1:30, but I work in fuels as a technician on the TRMU for the Shasta Trinity National Forest. And I'll pass it on to whoever's next.
Who are we missing? Me.
Cindy.
Hi, my name's Cindy Childress, and I am the Tribal Secretary for the Nurelmic Wintu Nation, and I'm also a Cultural Resource Monitor for the tribe. Thank you.
Welcome, Cindy. Okay, is that everybody except me?
Pat,
Pat,
I just joined, so Trinity Center Community Services District, and longtime Fire Safe Council member.
okay. And I am Carol Fall. I'm Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department and Chair of the Fire Safe Council. So, Amelia, do you want me to walk through the agenda, or did you want to do that?
Please go ahead. We do have one addition that I know of so far. It's going to be at the end of the outreach and news. So we have a brochure that Maya Williams has been working on, which is called After Wildfire. And so we're going to have a presentation from her on that and get some feedback.
Okay, and I think under outreach and news, I think E is E just Trinity County brief update on the fires?
I think that was supposed to be the hazard mitigation plan update.
Okay. All right, so any other additions or changes to the agenda? Okay, so we have a presentation then from the RCD on their Forest Health and Fire Prevention Awards from CAL FIRE. You guys take it away.
Hi, so this is Chris Cole, the Forest Health Program Manager for the Trinity County RCD again. And I was just gonna give a brief run through on a recent award we got through the CAL FIRE CCI, like the Forest Health Program. And so we just the overall is we got an award to work primarily on or exclusively on forests in public lands, so the BLM and Forest Service. And then we have 4 separate project areas, which Amelia has the maps up for now. And so what she's showing now is the first project area, which is in the 2014 Oregon Fire burn scar. And so our goal there is to site prep 132 acres and then plant those 132 acres. And overall, the lots of the projects are flexible. So if we end up finding that we don't really need to plant and just need to, culture oaks or just do more fuels reduction, then that will be the approach we use once we kind of get more eyes on the ground out there. So if you could go to the next area. So this is a little Browns Creek area, and it's just a section of BLM land, and we're going to do a variety of treatment out there of manual thinning, piling, pile burning, and broadcast burning. And so it's for a total of around 222 acres, and the roadside will be one of the priorities, and then where we go from there is open for right now, but I'm sure the BLM has ideas. Next area, please. And so this is, again, BLM land, and these are a bunch of parcels that they had identified needing, additional resources for to get them done. And all of these areas are going to be cut, pile, burn pile, broadcast burn, as well as mastication. And we're probably going to almost exclusively use the Watershed Center for contracting for the mastication work within these units. And then the last unit. So this is just the Lake Forest project, and it's all on Forest Service land, and it's a series of old plantations that are in various states of need. And so there's a fair amount of mastication, like over 200 acres of mastication that most likely the Watershed will contract for that. And then also cutting, piling, burning piles, and then with the eventual goal of having broadcast burning within those different parcels. If people have any questions, I can try to answer them. And then if anybody wants additional information kind of beyond what we can really talk about here, they can feel free to reach out for me. I can put my email in the chat, and then they can call me also.
So Chris, what was the total amount funded? The dollar amount?
The total funding amount was $3.9 million, which for our RCD is a pretty substantial amount of money. So it'll be a good big project to get our hands into.
From those of you that remember earlier last year, so this Little Browns Creek project area is the EA that was funded through the Wildlife Conservation Board.
Carol, you're muted.
Anybody else have any questions?
How long does this grant run for?
The expiration is March of 2026. So we have a good, 3 or 4 years of working time.
Okay. Any other
This
questions?
is Larry. Yeah, Larry Winter. Has this already gone through the NEPA process?
Yeah, so with the addition of the Little Browns, which was recently passed, all of these are NEPA complete, which was one of the criteria for to get funded, was to have either projects that were NEPA completed within a year, or projects that had NEPA already completed. And so we chose the latter just for security and not wanting to get held up for various reasons.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to just mention one other thing, is just that I've also received a selection notice for the CAL FIRE prevention grant, which is a different grant that will more heavily focus on private property and defensible space and roadside, and more of the typical kind of work that we're used to. But and I'll definitely give a more detailed update once we kind of have the final executed agreement and a word in hand.
Okay, well, go out and do good work. Okay, so then we'll move on to outreach and news. So I don't know that we have an update on the local area resource list. I missed the fire chiefs meeting on the 13th, kind of due to the river complex. So I don't think we have an update on getting that list updated. I will say Pat might want to add in that we did notice that the impetus to have the resolution by the Board of Supervisors is in the safety plan. Am I saying that correctly?
It's in the safety element of the general plan. And it's specifically, the general plan references the Board of Supervisors authorized the formation of local area advisors in 2009, resolution number 2009-058. And it goes on to say that local area advisors are recommended by the Director of the Emergency Services Office and appointed by the Trendy County Board of Supervisors, and serve at the pleasure of the Board of Supervisors representing the citizens of Trinity County. So I think part of what we need to do is remind, because the current Board of Supervisors weren't on the board in 2009 and may be totally unaware of the resolution that they in fact passed. And, they should, start a process to get nominations or suggestions of local area advisors and start, moving that more formally than us just chatting about it. And it's, there's also, so that's in the narrative part of the general plan, the safety element. And then there is actually a policy that was adopted by the Board of Supervisors in the safety element that says essentially the same thing. So in two different places, they've taken action to move forward with these local area advisors.
So then if we come up with a list of suggested names, we would go to Trinity County OES for their kind of review and have
Right.
that presented to the Board of Supervisors.
Yes.
Okay,
And I think maybe in advance of that, just a little educating of the Board of Supervisors about the resolution.
okay, I can work on that. Anybody have any questions or other updates on local area advisors then?
I just wanted
Yes,
to know.
Carol, this is Larry. Oh, I'm sorry, Pat.
Oh, I was just going to say, I wanted to congratulate Larry on on a really good letter to the editor yesterday.
Yeah. So Larry, you had something to
So,
add?
yeah, it just seems like that we've kind of grown out of that original resolution that the county had passed back in 2009. That they were kind of specific with these retired Forest Service officials and with the OES, and we were supposed to, go through, I think, an FBI check and wear certain vests and, have workers' comp covered under the county. And it's just not necessary anymore. I just went through our services district and had a letter signed by them, as well as the fire chief support me, and the incident command team accepts us. And you saw what Todd Wright has done there at Hawkins Bar as the fire chief. He's doing exactly the same thing. He's just paying attention, putting out reports, and communicating with the incident command team through the cooperators meetings that we have once a day, and that works. It's really not necessary to go through the county process if we don't have to, and so I'm not sure what the best way is. My letter, I'm calling out to other communities, and I'd like to start attending the Fire Chiefs Association meetings. And just to be clear, I'm not the fire chief in High Palm, but the cooperators meeting allows for volunteer fire departments of all communities to participate. And so I'm not sure what the best route is. I'm not saying don't continue following up with what you're doing, because it's great. It's just, I think that it's much more informal now, as long as you have your community's support. And because I'm not sure what criteria that you would have to have for the county to sign off on it. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, Larry, I was going to say the same thing when we got to like the individual project updates for Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department and Coffee Creek Volunteer Fire Department. We've both been participating in the cooperators meetings every morning, and also meeting with the liaisons from the incident management teams, and have been able to definitely provide them a lot of useful information. So, and they've been pretty receptive to 90% of it. So I agree, maybe not, maybe the Forest Service has just learned some of the benefits of getting the local people involved, but it definitely seems to be working better at the moment.
And what the arrangement we have here in High Palm, the fire chief isn't a part of what I've been doing, and it lets him focus on fire stuff. And that because I get phone calls all times of the day and evening from members of the community that want me to ask a question, possibly to the team through the cooperators meeting or through phone calls or emails. But it just, and it's very time consuming, and it would take it takes a lot of the load off of a fire chief to let them focus on what they do. And like I mentioned Todd right before, I've never met the guy, but I'm so impressed with what he's done and how he's been able to handle all of those things that they're doing there, and also be able to put out reports to the community in a way that they understand it. And so like I said, that I think there's a lot of flexibility that every community could actually, create their own method or who they want to have doing it and how they go about doing it. I don't think that we can really, besides just the basic things, as far as being a conduit for your community to the incident command team. I consider myself not an advisor, but a community liaison. Because I don't have the expertise as, the Roger Yeagles and the Clarence Roses and the Dave Rose that the original local area advisors have as far as fighting fires. But I don't need that expertise if I know people that do, and I'm familiar with all the terminology and the language and tactics. But anyway, I just think there could be a lot of flexibility in how this is brought forth.
Okay, so we'll keep.
Just to add to that, sorry. To add to that
I
real
just
quick.
wanted to congratulate.
So a good way that the Watershed Center's found to have, an impact and an influence on these local fires and to provide local knowledge is to go, make yourself available as an AD resource advisor. We've got 5 or 6 here at the Watershed Center that got all their qualifications. We've had a resource advisor on the Monument Fire basically since it started from the Watershed Center. Myself, I was down there for 21 days. We had Josh Rivera down there for a while too. So it's something that the RCD can look into if you're fire line qualified and you have a sponsor, which Forest Service locally is definitely willing to sponsor local emergency ADs. It's a really good avenue to have an influence and have a say what's going on out there and try to advise outside resources on what's important to us and our communities.
So it sounds like, maybe the best thing for the Fire Safe Council is just to be kind of a clearinghouse where we can provide information to the Forest Service. Sorry, phone's ringing. That is both, well, it's a combination. It's maybe the formal resource advisors, it's the community liaisons, and then it's the people that have the technical level that would be true resource advisors, even though they're not officially kind of approved. So we can just have that information collected and provide it to the Forest Service in the event of another fire. Something like that. Does that sound like something we want to work on?
Yeah, and Kelly McElroy is very involved with trying to find local resources to respond to these events in terms of AD resources and stuff. So pass that list along to Kelly McElroy, and it'd be a good start.
Okay, great. All right, any other thoughts on providing local resources of varying qualifications?
So I was interested in what the Fire Safe Council's thoughts were for as we're writing the California Fire Safe Council coordinator position. One of the thoughts that came up was to have the funding available for the Fire Safe Council coordinator to sit in on the cooperators meetings that are held for the major wildfires in the county. That's not something that we've done in the past. And I think that could be valuable to have the Trinity County Fire Safe Council there and present. But the funding and the availability and the priority just hasn't been there. And so I was interested in getting feedback on that idea.
Some of the meetings, it would be useful, definitely, you know, both as a community liaison, when they're asking for us to get information out to the general public, I think the Fire Safe Council is a good mechanism. And then when they're looking for information about, you know, what maps are available and stuff, you know, you guys really know that. A lot of the other stuff probably don't need to listen to, but if you wanted to, that sounds like it would be good to put funding at least in there. If you want to sit and go through all those meetings. Any other thoughts?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. And Amelia's going to talk a little bit more about the Fire Safe Council Coordinator grant, so we can follow up on that. And that is the next thing. So 4B is the Fire Safe Council, California Fire Safe Council Coordinator Grant application, which Amelia is working on. So you want to kind of tell us kind of what we're looking at there?
Yes, I'm just pulling up my notes right now. So on a different note, if the California Fire Safe Council released their announcement for their 2021 SFA fire prevention grant. And so our neighbors in Humboldt County were awarded some funding for that. So if you haven't seen that, I just wanted to give everybody a heads up. So that's really exciting for them. So on our side of things, for the California Fire Safe Council, the 2021 CAL FIRE County Coordinator Program, the ask is $175,000. The Trinity County RCD has been designated by the county to be the Fire Safe Council Coordinator and oversee this application and the coordination of the council. So designated as that county entity. So looking through the materials, the district itself has proposed to ask for an indirect cost of 20%. So our current NCRA is over 20%. So we're asking below that. And that removes $29,000 off the top of our ask. From there, we're looking to propose for the majority of funding to be spent in personnel and fringe benefits. And then looking for the remainder to be spent between supplies, contractual, and travel. So what I'm looking for as the vision for this proposal is to really increase and expand our current opportunities. So we've talked a while about having neighborhood-led councils or committees that are coming together to really work on developing projects and working internally. And so I want to have the flexibility and have the person on staff to be able to go out and handle those meetings, have those neighborhood meetings. We're looking in this proposal to also fund the Trinity County Firewise Awareness Fair, which we have tried to do in May, but due to COVID, haven't been able to do that. We're looking to do, more of the Firewise community assessments, the neighborhood assessments, as well as looking to do at least one event in each of our 5 different districts for the CWPP and doing the Firewise awareness materials. We want to walk through the houses and say what's a defensible house and what's not a defensible house. And so we really want to invest in our education and outreach with this. We also want to look at funding time for personnel to attend the Trinity County Fair and having a booth there just for the Fire Safe Council. As well with all these events and stuff, we built in some advertisement funding. And so that's within the supplies. And then for travel, we need to be able to pay for the mileage for all of this travel, to pay for our vehicles to go to meet with the neighborhoods and come back. We've also been talking with the Southern Trinity group that is interested in potentially forming a new fire safe council. And so we want to be able to provide support in hours and also being able to host some events down in that area in the next few years. Or in the next 18 months. And so this project is in 18 months. The other side of that, which is an aside, is that the CAL FIRE fire prevention funding does have some that we had the selection letter for, does have some allocation of funding for an update to the Southern Trinity CWPP. And so we will be revamping the CWPP for the Southern Trinity area with that funding. So we're not looking to write that into this. We're just looking to supplement it and hear the needs of the Southern Trinity community, that they want to be more engaged, and so we're just going to help facilitate that engagement and outreach with them. Additional supplies and with the contractual services as available with the supplies, we'll be able to buy more of the blue dots for the blue dot program and help support that, as well as any additional brochures that we need to create or produce. So right now, Maya produced an after wildfire brochure, but we would also look with this proposal to build a Trinity County Fire Safe Council brochure that's just about the participants in the Trinity County Fire Safe Council, how to get in contact with us, and what we do. So looking to do just a Trinity County Fire Safe Council brochure and have that printed as well. And then in contractual, I want to leave it a little vague and have some flexibility, but what we would be looking to is have a line item that's contractual to allow for Dylan and other fire managers and other program managers within the area to attend these events. And so we want to be mindful that, you know, they have their own projects and that kind of stuff. And so asking them to attend our events to provide a speech or to talk about their projects takes time and money away from their projects. And so we want to offer that as a little carrot to encourage them to participate, and not calling Dylan out specifically because he's really good about coming and has never asked for this. But we just want to have that flexibility. And then the other is, so other 2,500 is there. And that would be if we are interested in using this to support the Big Red Truck project or program. And so that's where our local volunteer fire departments go and do the assessments to if the truck can get in and talk about defensible space and housing with local members. And so we in the past have offered a reimbursement of $25 per residents visited. And so we could look at doing that again. I also propose that for both the Blue Dot and the Red Truck program, that we don't put all of our eggs in one basket. And so we also look to apply for funding from the RAC as well for those projects. So we have $85,000, which would go towards personnel costs. And just to kind of break it out a little bit, it would be approximately, if it was fully covered throughout this whole entire year, to cover part-time for me for 1.5 years and part-time for another project coordinator, which would assist me in this, would be $125,000 for 1.5 years. And so we are asking for $120,000. So that's just under it, recognizing that there's going to be other priorities that come up in other funding sources. So that's what we are asking for. So $85,000 just in the salaries and wages, $30,000 in the fringe benefits. So that covers health insurance and PTO and everything for a staff member at the Trinity County RCD. It also, we are asking $10,000 for supplies, $5,000 for contract services, $5,000 for travel, $6,000 is other. And so that's a lot of the hall rentals and paying for the advertisements in the paper for our upcoming events, printing services, and also paying for sorry, I forgot the last thing in that. And then we have the indirect, which is the $29,000, getting us to a total of $175,000. with that, we do have a big initiative to increase the youth participation. And so we're currently in development of some youth lessons. And so we'd like to engage with the schools in all of the districts, as well as doing some of the more adult geared educational programs that we're already participating in. And again, if we still have COVID concerns in the coming months, and while this project's being implemented, we'll be looking to do more educational videos, as well as finding ways to get those out to the community, as we know that not all communities have strong enough internet.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Amelia? Now's your chance. I think it sounds great, Amelia. Thanks. And thanks for putting the Big Red Truck program in there. That's my pet project. Pat, did you have something?
So I just was wondering, and I haven't read the application materials very closely, but is there a need, or do you think you have covered like the kind of the flip side of coordination, which is the interacting and sharing successes with other fire safe councils in the North region? Do you think that's useful or superfluous, or you think it might be covered in just the way you I know you don't want to be too specific.
Yes, so the coordinator role will look at participating within the Trinity County Chiefs Association, the Trinity County Disaster Council, attending the Trinity County Board of Supervisors meetings when there's concerns there. Earlier we talked about attending the Trinity wildfire cooperators meetings when those are going on. We've got a ton of social media, so the coordinator will also be assisting with that. And yes, as the California Fire Safe Council Northern Region meetings come up, the coordinator will be attending those. We already are. We haven't had one in about 3 months, and I think that's just due to the wildfires. But as those pick up again, we'll be up and reaching out to our coordinators, our neighboring coordinators as well.
Great. Okay, thanks.
Hi, Amelia, this is Larry Winter. I agree with Carol about the Red Fire Truck program. It was a wonderful program when we had it here in High Pond, but I would ask that you would increase the funding. It was $25 when we first ran it over 20 years ago, it seems like. And it would be really nice if that cost would be increased, with that benefit, just because everything else for a fire department has gone way up in price, and it would be helpful.
What I also felt that it was low, but I wouldn't have an idea of what a fair price would be. Do you have any recommendations, or does anyone else on the call have any recommendations?
Well, I mean, I don't, because I wasn't expecting to come up with a number here. But I don't know, anything more than $25. I don't know what it would take if you to rationalize a higher fee. If miles traveled, you paying people certain 50 cents a mile to travel. There's fuel. You have firemen that are going out taking their time to do that. It should be worth a bit for a fire department, though we get really good information out of it. But it is time consuming, and I don't want to throw a number out there. I mean, I'd say $50 if we can just throw a number out there, but I'm sure it's something between that. The more, the better.
Okay.
Yeah, Larry. Yeah, Amelia just asked me that number. We haven't really had a chance to revisit it. So we can look at that again and figure out if there's a better way to justify that and how it fits in the total budget. But like I told Amelia, I think our department got a lot of value out of it because, we were driving down to places that we hadn't been to before and, able to kind of, essentially familiarize ourselves with what we would face if we were called upon to respond in any way to that location. So it was kind of a benefit to us, like you said. And then we got a little bit of money on the side. But yeah, so we can look a little bit more at that reimbursement and just how it's divvied up. I told Amelia I didn't want to have it apply to city streets. I don't want to have more, like Trinity Center, you could drive down one of the streets and hit a dozen houses, but that's not the whole idea. You want to go to the places that are out in the boonies and, get to the ones that, really have access issues. And so, yeah, we'll look at that, but yeah. And like Amelia said, we'll be applying for other grants and other projects and other programs to kind of supplement that too. I wanted to get it started.
But just from a historical perspective, that original grant from the RAC was $85,000 total. And it allocated a cap, a certain number of inspections or visits by the big red truck per fire department. So that's a way to kind of, another way to look at boundaries.
Yeah, I remember there was a max per fire department, right?
And some departments didn't do it. And so then we opened it up for other departments to take their money, and they did. For example, Weaverville, I don't think did any.
Okay, any other thoughts about what should be in the Fire Safe Council Coordinator's grant application? Okay, so we'll be wrapping that up. I think it's due September 30th. Yeah, and we'll be turning that in. So if you think of anything, let Amelia know soon.
Carol or Pat, did either of you get a copy from the county of the signed letter? I've reached out, but I haven't heard back to get the letter of designation from the county for the RCD.
I did not get a copy.
I guess probably reaching out to Jill, or maybe just.
I can do that.
Staff. You can do that, Kelly?
Yep.
Jill's been kind of under the weather, so.
Yeah, I've noted. But yeah, I can reach out to her and or Richard Coons.
Yeah.
Will do.
Okay, so the next thing is for the benefit of people who are looking for funding for different projects. The Resource Advisory Committee has funding that potentially would, handle some of your fuel reduction projects and things like that. I'm going to turn it over to Pat maybe to explain kind of the time frame and what's coming up, how to approach your district ranger and all that good stuff.
Oh, okay. So there's a $1,500,000 available to the Trinity County Resource Advisory Committee, the RAC, to allocate, and the timeline that we set up, we've extended. So applications or proposals are due by November 1st of this year. And the current thought is that we'll have 2 meetings in November, the 8th and the 15th, where proponents will get their 5-minute, elevator talk to kind of, pitch their project. And then the RAC likely will make decisions in early December at a meeting, probably December 13th, I think was the date that we were talking about. The application is online at on the Shasta Trinity National Forest website. And some of you, I think, probably already gotten information on how to get there. In previous iterations of the RAC has kind of tried to divvy up the money with a couple of factors. One was a focus on different kinds of projects, not everything going into one pot. So fuels reduction, forestry projects, watershed projects, recreation projects. The previous racks actually set kind of a percentage, 45% for fuels, 45% for watersheds, 10% for everything else. This rack has decided to keep it a little more open, not knowing, what is out there and ready to rock and roll. One of the requirements is that you have to get with the ranger that would be most likely responsible for the area where your project would be happening. So Weaverville or Trendy Center or downriver would be, Tara at Trinity River Management Unit, way downriver, towards, Salyer Hawkins Bar would be the lower Trinity, forest. South Fork Management Unit for the South Fork side of things, and the NRA for some things up around the lake. And you have to get the rangers to go through a checklist, which is on the website, and essentially sign off on your project as a doable project. They don't really have a vote in what projects get funded, but they just want to make sure that it's something that isn't, undoable or is inconsistent with the law, that sort of thing. So you're supposed to do that and have that as part of your proposal that you submit. The flyer that we put out in the ad in the newspaper we put out assumed that there would be an agreement signed between the Forest Service and the RCD, with the RCD functioning as the kind of administrator of this process. I'm not sure that that's going to happen in time, so so we put out an email address for you to submit applications to an email address that is associated with the RCD. And I'm not sure that's going to be functioning by the time we're doing this. I don't know if Kelly has heard anything more. The other thing the RAC tends to look for is distributing the funds not only by project type, but across the landscape to make sure that projects are getting funded at the easiest way to describe it, all 5 of the regions, the districts that you have in, say, the CWPP. So some projects are happening down in southern Trinity, some are happening in the Hayfork area, downriver, around Weaverville and the North Lake. And if you've got particular questions, concerns, you can email me, and I've been trying to kind of, get answers wherever I can for people on what has to happen. Projects don't have to be NEPA ready. They don't have to be, shovel or chainsaw ready right now. Under the kind of the process that our RAC set up, they have to be NEPA ready by September 15th of 2022. And under the RAC law, the funds have to be obligated in some sort of instrument, a contract, cooperative agreement by September 2023. And I've not gotten a clear answer from the Forest Service as to when the money has to be spent. But certainly you've got, I would think, at a minimum until September of 2024. That said, I've indicated to people who've asked me that my personal preference as a RAC member is things that can get done sooner than later, because there's a political side to this RAC stuff, which is the authorization is done. And the law needs to be reauthorized by Congress again. And if there's still a lot of money sitting on the table when we're going to our congressional members saying you need to reauthorize this, they're going to point to the money on the table and say you haven't spent what we've already given you. So that's my personal preference. Other RAC members may have different opinions. Another category of projects that can be funded are education, youth outreach projects. And we can actually fund MIPA if that and planning if we want to. And that'll be up to the RAC to decide, you know, how they want to divvy up the money in that regard. Is that, and any questions, if anybody has questions?
So do you want to talk a little bit about the general, like, is there a dollar max or anything per project or general dollar amount funded?
There's no cap or anything, but again, you know, I mean, I got a phone call, email from the county that wanted $1 million. And I said, that ain't gonna happen. You know, we aren't gonna, the RAC's not gonna just put all the money in one project. So I would say, if you look at the history of the RAC with similar dollar amounts available, you know, little projects are great because they, you know, they're there when you're sweeping up the budget dust and you still have $10,000 to spend. And, oh, here's a proposal that'll use $10,000. But I think, you know, $50,000 to $150,000 seems to be kind of on the range of the larger projects as we funded them in the past. And recognize, somebody will say, well, no, I got, you know, X number of dollars. The RAC originally got $1 million a year. Now the RAC gets about $400,000 a year. The authorization was for 2 years, and there was some carryover money left on the table from before, which is why we have $1 million. So I would say and scalability is really important, I think. Projects that when you go to the meeting and say, I want to do X, Y, and Z, and it costs, you know, $100,000, they say, but can you just do X, or you can do Y and Z for $50,000? Having scalable projects is, I think, a winning strategy also. Does that cover what you wanted?
Yeah, and then they're supposed to be on federal lands unless there's a direct public benefit to.
Right, you have to show a direct benefit to the federal land. If
Right.
it's going to be on private land. And it's not limited to Forest Service land. It can be other federal land also.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments about, you know, that source of funding and the procedure for applying for projects? Okay.
And I will admit, so I do want to let everybody know that Tara Jones has set aside every Friday from 12 to 2:30 for people to get with her, you know, virtually or however, to go over that Rangers checklist for their projects. Other Rangers have not responded to me as to setting aside a time, so just, you know, just give it your best to get a hold of them. And if you really start running into snags and they're not responding to you, let me know and I'll do what I can to shake the cage.
Okay, all right, thanks. So then we'll move on to kind of an update on our communications with the Southern Trinity Fire Safe Council, at least the people that are interested in potentially forming one or you know, tying in with Trinity County Fire Safe Council. Amelia, do you want to start that discussion?
Yeah. So the Trinity County Fire Safe Council was approached last year after the August complex about the Southern Trinity area and their interest in potentially developing their own fire safe council. And so some of you might remember that Carol and Kelly and Chris and I took a field trip and Dylan to out to the Southern Trinity area to meet with some of the interested participants. And so it kind of fell off a little bit after that. And so in this last week, we've had a meeting led by Kristen Lark of Six Rivers to just talk about the Southern Trinity Fire Safe Council and how the Trinity County Fire Safe Council could provide them with support in the current outreach with what they're looking for. So to all of the different land managers out there, we'll be looking to coordinate an event out in Southern Trinity to talk about all the different projects that are going on in that area and to show the project area maps, to talk about the implementation. And so we'll be looking to coordinate that sometime in the next few months. And so that's what we're looking to do immediately. And then the Southern Trinity group that's interested in forming a fire safe council is going to be refining their view as to what their interest is, what their goals are, and where they're going to be moving forward from there. Whether they're nested underneath the Trinity County Fire Safe Council, whether they're their own entity, whether a community service district or another association is their host agency. So that's still under development, but I think we had a really good meeting this last week. And if any of the participants, the members of the public who are here today want to chime in, we're happy to have you.
I'll just step up and say that was a great meeting that we had with Kristen Lark. And we really don't know, at least in a few of our minds, what our field is going to be. But we are moving forward and we realize we need to do something. So hopefully we can put something together in the near future with you guys. But like I said, right now, we're just kind of getting a feel for the community and what they're looking for.
Well, one of the things we suggested was that you guys kind of connect with us on these Zoom meetings and see what was going on with the rest of the Fire Safe Council. So we're glad to have you. Welcome. And hopefully it'll be some benefit to you to kind of see all that's going on.
Yes, agree. Thank you very much. I mean, just being part of this meeting has been very educational for myself. So hopefully we can get more people in the community in that Southern Trinity area to be involved and, listen to your guys' meetings and see if we can move forward in a positive way. So.
Great. Okay.
Hey, Carol, can I just add, this is Larry in High Palm.
Sure. Yeah, go on, Larry.
Our experience in forming our group started through the community wildfire protection plans. And it sounds like you're going to have another one possibly for next year. I mean, that's just a great vehicle to, form your group at that time where now you're part of the sponsoring of the meetings of the CWPP. And it's a good way to get people involved and signed on to what you're trying to do. It worked really well for us working through that CWPP and the Fire Safe Council. Pat Frost was a big part of that, and the RCD was a big part of that. So I just wanted to pass that on.
Thank you, Larry. I wouldn't mind picking your brain sometime if possible. Any info, like I said, what you guys have done there in High Palm, and how we can move forward. So any info would be great.
I'll be glad to come to your next meeting, or I can send you my email address on the chats.
Okay, that would be great.
Okay, good. I'm looking forward to that, kind of moving forward and seeing what we can do to help. So, all right, let's see. The next thing is, I guess, an update on the Trinity County hazardous, whatever plan, brain fart. Amelia, were you going to talk about that? Lost you.
Yes. So I've reached out to Ed Presley. He's the Trinity County OES manager. And so at this point in time, as some of you know, the plan just expired. And so that creates a gap in eligibility of funding for a lot of us, specifically that it goes on with the Cal OES funding and FEMA funding. And so at this point in time, the county is planning to do a 2-month update. And so they're planning to get a revision out so that the hazard mitigation plan is has the needed materials updated to be adopted in the next 2 months. And then they will be looking to do a more thorough review and update after that. Our is working to secure funding to support the update on that hazard mitigation plan and the thorough update, but just so that everybody is aware that there's going to be a quick turnaround on the current hazard mitigation plan update, and then there'll be a deeper effort done after that to keep the mitigation plan up to date. So that's where they are. And then into the Cal OES brick funding. And so Carol and I and Kelly all sat in a meeting with the county. The county was interested in applying to some Cal OES FEMA funding. And we ran into the issue of not having a hazard mitigation plan up to date. But we would like to start talking about future planning to apply for brick funding next year. So one of the gaps that we've had is home improvements. And so we've done a lot of defensible space work, fuel reduction, but we haven't dabbled too much into the home hardening respect of any work yet. And the other idea with some of this brick funding is to potentially help fund some of the power lines to get buried in some of the high hazard areas. So I just wanted to bring that up as a starting place that we can look to develop a really good proposal for this type of funding over the next few months, so that when it comes up again, we have something up and ready to go.
Yeah, so the brick funding, it's BRIC, it's Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities. And so it pays for defensible space, and it also pays for home hardening. So that's what Amelia is talking about, where, and hardening of infrastructure, like the power lines. So I think the best thing here to do is write up a little summary. We'll try to post it on the Fire Safe Council website or email it to people so people know what we're talking about. And then they can get their thinking caps on. So this funding rolls around pretty regularly. What we want to apply for in the next round. It does need to be not on federal lands, as far as we understand. And also needs to, let's see, it said NEPA ready, but if it doesn't need to be on federal lands, then NEPA wouldn't apply. So we'll get that straightened out as far as what kind of projects can apply, and you guys can let us know what you think we need. We were thinking of picking a pilot community and going in and doing something like replacing all the vents in the houses with the fireproof vents, something like that, to see, how much that cost, what kind of participation we got, and just, figure out, does that kind of thing work in Trinity County? So anyway, we'll think about that some more.
So NEPA still is required because it's federal money.
Federal money. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've reached the 1 hour mark, so we want to move into project updates. And so what we do in this part is ask the different agencies that have projects in the county for a brief update of what they're doing in Trinity County and kind of what's going on, so we know how to be most efficient in kind of applying whatever resources we're drawing into Trinity County. So I'm going to start with Jeremy, maybe first, from BLM, or Rich Raposa. Take it away.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, go ahead, Jeremy, I can go. So we've got a couple of units in Reading Indian Creek. Yeah, you saw the maps for them earlier in the presentation. Those are getting squared away. We got CAL FIRE working on one of them, putting in some line construction for the broadcast unit. They're probably not out there working today because of the fawn fire. And then the Trinity RCD and the Watershed's working on some mastication out in Lewiston, I believe on the Rush Creek Road stuff. Dylan had his masticate out there a while ago. They got pulled away from the monument, but I think they're getting back out there here pretty soon. And then, yeah, the Trinity RCD is out in Reading Indian Creek finishing up some piles. We should have about 80 acres broadcast out there and about 50 to 60 acres piles to burn out there, and then a bunch more in the Lewiston community project area. Yeah, that's the end of my report, unless Jeremy has anything to
add. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to give a update on some of the closures that we have in the monument fire. Currently, there's a press release that's about to go out. It's basically within the Shasta T. They have a map out there. We have a lot of BLM river access points along 299 that are essentially about to be opened, but they're not officially opened yet. So that's everywhere from Helena to it's about midway between Junction City and Weaverville. So those are not officially opened yet, but they're it could be happening here in the next 24 hours or so, just pending a press release from the state office. Aside from those areas on the Highway 299 corridor, just the interior of the BLMs within the actual fire closure areas are still to remain closed. These are just the river access or the trailhead points, the parking areas, those types of areas. Any questions?
Yeah, Jeremy, this is Kelly Sheen calling, or I have a question for you. If you're talking about river access, what about campgrounds? Are they open, or are they going to be open?
They're currently closed. They're soon to be open, but we can't. Yeah, it's pending. I wish I can give you an actual date, but it has to go through the approval channels through the state office, the Washington office. It'll be issued for a press release. If you can hold on one sec, I could have a list of everything that'll be open by name if you like.
I was just curious about, Steel Bridge obviously was kind of not really in the fire's path and all that stuff, and I wasn't sure if there was like a as broad a closure as the forest had done.
Well, these are areas within the closure of the forest, but the exempted sites are going to be Junction City Campground, Baghdad Boat Launch, Sky Ranch Boat Launch, and Junction City Boat Launch. Those are the exempted sites that'll be open, and they are within the closure area, but they're just kind of points along the Highway 299 corridor that would be open.
So Steiner Flat Campground and Steel Bridge are they closed now? Are they going to be opened?
Oh, actually, I can't speak to those areas. No, those are the only areas that I have that are listed as open. So,
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone? All right. If anybody has any questions about the closures, I'll just hit me up with an email or after this conference, and I can send out or forward a news release as well if anybody's interested.
Thanks, Jeremy. Dave, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was out at the Steel Bridge campground recently, and it was open. I drove down there to check out for a project, and then out on Steiner's Flat, what I remember is Steel Bridge or the Douglas campground and the various campgrounds along the river there are also closed.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, Dave. Let's see, so we don't have anyone from CAL FIRE or Caltrans on this time. For the Southern Trinity folks, the calls during fire season, we tend to have less participation because everybody's out on a fire, but anyway, usually they'll be here. So Larry, do you have any updates for High and Palm Fire Safe Council?
Just Carrie Otto, the deputy supervisor of the Shasta Trinity, came to High and Palm with the Northern Rockies team for community meeting, and I got to meet her and put a plug in for the High and Palm Fire Resilient Community Project because it kind of fell off the radar, and I just wanted to put that in front of them again. So she was going to respond to me, give me an update, but that's all I have.
Good. Thanks for doing that. Let's see. How about, let's see. So Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department, that's me. So we have been busy with the river complex. As I said earlier, we've been attending the cooperators briefings and been able to provide, I think, pretty pertinent information to the incident management teams. That has worked well. Unfortunately, we did lose 94 structures in Coffee Creek. So we're working on trying to help the folks up there. And we are going to be submitting a couple rack projects that are down in Covington Mill. And I think probably that's all that's really relevant. Let's see. So Pat, do you have anything you want to bring up from the Trinity County Collaborative Group?
No, we didn't have a meeting in September, so nothing really new to report.
Okay. So Trinity County RCD, what's up?
We're gonna start with Maya and let her show us that flyer that she's developed and get some feedback.
I am going to share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this brochure is meant to be distributed to landowners whose properties have been impacted by wildfire. So it really lays out the resources that are available to them. And in the centerfold here, kind of a step-by-step flow chart on what to do if you have structure damage or, forest and agricultural land damage. So I would really like all of your feedback, would be super helpful. And I can kind of take you through it right now. So essentially, on the right side, it's forest and agricultural land. What kind of assistance might you need? There's financial support, and then also professional advice, which directs people to NRCS to do some of those planning assessments and site visits and stuff like that. And then on the left side for structures, we have debris removal, which is by California Office of Emergency Services, and then environmental health, which handles water and sewage system repairs. And then the same financial support and tips and resources. So those tips it's Trinity County Office of Emergency Services. They have on their website a whole list of, different sites and resources that people can go to. And then the new Trinity County Fire Safe Council website that's being developed will have kind of much more expanded information on all of this. Lots of documents and contact information and stuff like that. So directing people to those sites, basically. Going back to the first page, on that first inlet on the left, we have soil and vegetation best practices. Kind of walks you through some brief guidelines, but a lot more of that would be available on the website. So this is basically directing people to consult an expert before beginning restoration projects, avoid erosion control seed mixes, but still letting people know that erosion is a major concern following fire. Be selective when removing burned trees, and be aware that trees may recover or resprout, and then controlling non-native plants that may sprout after a fire. And then on that backside in the center, we have preparing for the next fire. So really briefly, defensible space, home hardening, and then some local resources that could help people do that, which would be Trinity County RCD, the Watershed Center, both of which do fuel reduction services, and then also NRCS.
So Maya, have you thought about putting UC Cooperative Extension? The office that serves Trinity County is in Shasta, is in Reading, but they have a ton of information on how to evaluate whether or not your trees are going to survive and burn soils and all that stuff. Ricky Satomi. So you might want to, they have their whole website on essentially recovering from fires. So you might want to see if you could tie in with that. They do serve Trinity County, even though they're not physically located here anymore since I retired.
Totally. That's a good idea. We definitely have some of their publications that are going to be on the website, but including contact information on this brochure, maybe specifically on that soil and vegetation side of things would be helpful.
I mean, they have all those brochures at their Weaverville office. If people go there, there's piles of that stuff. So you can pick it up in Weaverville.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, just a thought.
Yeah, thank you.
I would say also the Watershed Center and the RCD are getting pretty close here to being able to offer more than just fuel reduction services. Myself and Xander we just need to pass the RPF exam, and we'll have our RPF licenses, and Chris Cole's in the same boat. So I don't know if we want to advertise it yet, but we're close to being able to offer professional forestry services to private landowners as well, and coordinate CFIT projects. That's another good local state kind of cost share program that kind of complements EQIP in a way, but the CFIP will pay for more like THP, plan writing, reforestation, commercial harvest, salvage harvest, stuff like that. So I think we can offer a little bit more than just fuel reduction work in the post-fire landscape.
Totally. So do you think that would be included in this part and like under professional advice on the right side? Or
I would add the California, I think it's Forest Incentives Program. It's called CFIP. It's their Cal Fire program. And then we can probably start advertising professional forestry services pretty soon here from the Watershed Center.
Cool. Thank you.
So then I think what you're saying, Dylan, is on the second page where it says, can provide, it's not just fuel reduction.
Yeah, exactly. We can provide what I consider, professional forestry services. So, timber harvest plan writing, salvage exemption writing, landscape level planning, most of what RPF work entails. And we're real close to being able to offer that to the local community.
So basically, for Maya's benefit, under local resources, it would just say, contact for fuel reduction and forestry services, something like that, right? And whatever, but I mean, she's something really brief for the brochure. You can add a lot more.
Forestry services work.
Yeah, you could add a lot more detailed description and update it on the website. So.
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly what our time frame is for getting this printed, but we would want it to be accurate moving forward, like in the years to come. So I guess, do you have a time frame on when you would be able to offer that? Like, is it in the next few months? Because then it would make sense to put it in here.
If Xander can pass his test, then we'll be able to offer it by December, and then I'll be taking mine in April. So we should know by December.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, any other thoughts about the brochure? If you think of anything else, just email Amelia and she'll pass it along to Maya.
Yeah, I'm also happy to email the brochure to anyone else who wants to take a closer look. So I can put my email in the chat and you can just reach out to me if you would like to get that copy.
Okay, thanks, Maya. All right, so now back to the RCD and your projects.
Me? All right, let's see. We've, with funding from the State Water Resource Control Board, we've been doing the Trinity River Watershed roadside fuel reduction. And we've been working in Steiner's Flat, cutting the heck out of the road and making it easy access to get out. We're gonna be moving to Union Hill, and then and also Steiner's Flat right before Steel Bridge right before the campground. Then with CAL FIRE money, we've got the Trinity County hazardous fuel reduction, and out there we've been working. Recently we were working a ton out at the Gompa because it was like the fire just like hugged the Gompa. And so we were able to go through and do a bunch of work out there and just make it a lot safer for them and deal with a lot of like trees and stuff that were an issue. And so fix up that and then help with that water system. And then also with that, we're gonna be moving into like Leslie Lane, right past the end of Weaverville and the Weaver Balla Loop. And then we also did a bunch out on Red Hill Road on the River Acres, bunch of chipping for folks. And with the California Fire Safe Council, we've done the countywide CWPP, a priority fuel reduction, FireWise Ed and FSC. And so that was Long Canyon and Lake Forest, Oregon Mountain, top of the grade. And so we were able to get to those projects, do a lot of great work, clear up a lot of driveways and roads out of those areas. And we got that all wrapped up. Then with National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, we've been working on the Indian Creek fuel reduction. And so that's the big 50-acre fuel reduction project that Richard mentioned. And our crews are out there cutting and piling like mad, and hopefully they'll get done soon and they'll be able to burn soon. And then also with the BLM, the Lewiston fuels reduction. With the combination of hand treatment and mastication, we've been able to treat Poker Bar and the Watershed Center is also doing a bunch of mastication out there on Poker Bar. And soon that project will be moving to doing a bunch of projects on Rush Creek and Goose Ranch Road, with also a combination of mastication and hand treatment. And then with the California State Coastal Conservancy, more work out in Lewiston, the Lewiston Resilience 2021. We're in the same areas, Rush Creek Road, Goose Ranch, Lewiston Road. We're preparing for several more units of hand treatment and mastication. And then with CAL FIRE funding, we've got the Northern Trinity County Forest Resilience Partnership, and we're preparing for a bunch of work out on, you saw the map earlier, where we're going to be fig treating a bunch of plantation units out there. And so we're just getting ready and preparing for that. And that's about the update on things we've been working on and where we're going since then.
Okay, thanks. Any other updates from Trinity County RCD? Amelia?
Yeah, just quickly, just to fill in a little more, we've just I guess started the planning process for the forest health grant. We'll probably initially start in that Oregon fire burn. It's probably the first place, at least for the planning, and that will likely be the first place we treat as well for the Forest Service. And then we just recently brought on Bethany for Grizzly Corps, and she's going to help out a lot with that specific grant opportunity. I think that's it for our program.
Okay. Amelia, you had something to add?
Yeah, so on the coordination side of things, I am working on the proposals for both the California Fire Safe Council and also for some RAC funding for education and outreach for the Trinity County Fire Safe Council. And then we are still working on our website, and we hope to have that up and going shortly. And that's what I have. I'm sorry about the background noise. My dogs are playing.
Okay.
And I'll add just one thing to comment. When Pat was speaking about the RAC coordination, that agreement is with grants and agreements at the forest. So I would kind of expecting it any time. It just depends on their workload.
Good. That'd be great if you guys could take that over. Okay, any questions for the RCD about their projects, what they're up to? No? Okay. So then how about Shasta Trinity National Forest? I know you guys are really busy fighting fires, but any other updates that you want to let us know?
Yeah, so this is Tim. I missed the beginning of the meeting. I apologize. The Weaverville Community Forest contract is back underway now that the monument fire is in better condition and some of the suppression repair work has been completed on Oregon Mountain. So we have the contractors back at work, working right off of Highway 299 just to the west of Weaverville. Hope to still get the majority of that project completed this year, but they did lose about 8 weeks due to the monument fire of available time to work. Which pushes us into the wet season. So they may not be able to complete all the work this year. And so we'll work with contracting to get that picked up. Beyond that, we are in preparations for all of our prescribed fire operations for this coming fall, winter, spring. Within the Weaver Basin itself, we're looking at approximately 350 acres of understory burning if everything works out. The Lake Forest Plantations phase 2, which is prior to the work that RCD has with the Northern Trinity CAL FIRE funding. We hope to get around 85 to 100 acres burned in there this between fall and spring. And then we are going to do the first round of maintenance burning in the North Lake Ballpark. And that'll be between 45 and 50 acres, probably on the north end below the cemetery, is what we prioritize. For the pile burning operations that we have this year, there's still a lot of piles out on the Tip First project, Denny Road, that were not impacted by the fire. Again, more piles out at Underwood Mountain. Of that Tip First project, about 180 acres of the monument fire interacted with that. And so not a great project, but I would call it a success that the majority of the hazard trees were already removed and on the ground, and it gave suppression forces an anchor point with which to work from, both on the Denny Road when it crossed over the New River and along Forest Road 60 to the south of Burt Ranch. So we have some successes there with our projects, and a little bit more also up on Patterson Peak with the Tip First project where we had treated in there. So small wins for us in a rough year, but that's what we have planned and some of our success.
Well, I know that Trinity Spike Camp is very grateful to you for your past burns at the ballpark, because all the tents are in that area underneath those trees where it's nice and clear camping.
Yep, I drove through there the other day to fix the raws out by Coffee Creek. A bear has been scratching his head on it, so he knocked over the rain bucket. But yeah, we saw all those there, and so that's part of it, is to get that into a cycle, so it's not the whole project every year maintenance, but you know, if we can split it like every year, do about a third of the project and get it into that good condition, to then maybe we can go 7 or 8 years without burning. That's the ideal situation here. And I did notice that there's a lot more dead and dying pines where the little creek flows through just to the south of the cemetery. And so I want to prioritize that area to get those trees out of there while before the bugs continue to spread. So we'll probably do a little bit of prep work, falling the trees and treating some of that prior to the understory maintenance burn.
And Tim, would you happen to know, I know Tara signed the CE for the Guy Covington project. Do you know if Mule Creek or anybody will be able to get out there and do just right at the entrance?
They've been working on some hazard trees that are out there adjacent to one of the properties, and we're going to try to get to some of the stuff at the entrance if we can, if all the resources availability lines up. But I know we're also looking at that as a rack project for for the RCD, and so it'll be that finding that balance of what our resource availability is as we maybe move into more suppression repair and Southern California's fire season, and then where we have folks that we can prioritize that project. And it's on our radar. Like I have it on my board as something that we have prioritized. It's just finding the folks to get out there and get it done.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I wasn't sure if I needed to talk to Tara about it as a potential rack project. So, okay, great. Thanks. We'll just kind of figure out one way or another.
Okay.
Any other questions for Shasta Trinity on what they're doing?
I do have a little bit of information for the South Fork Management Unit. A lot of their proposed projects were impacted by the McFarland fire. So all the goods plantation work that they were going to be doing out by Wildwood. So they're having to try to repackage some of that work and figure out what they can do with it. So for the projects that they have this year, and it's just outside of Trinity County, but it's the Harrison Gulch compound underburning project. Not a ton of acres there, and then continuing with pile burning out in High and Palm. There's some out by Plumber Peak Lookout, a few other spots like that. On lookouts, we are trying to figure out what we're going to do with Ironsides Lookout. We're not going to just walk away. We may move to a different site, but the intent right now from the forest is that we will try to find a way to get a lookout back up on that corner of the forest. So because there's a lot of areas that it can see that don't have cell service. So it's pretty important to have that lookout that can give and provide early detection and be that human repeater that a camera just doesn't quite provide the same degree of service in a location like that.
Okay, thanks. I don't think we have anybody from Six Rivers, so we'll turn it over to Dylan or Xander for the Watershed Center.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. Definitely, it's certainly challenging summer for everyone. We continuing to do as much work as we can. Like I mentioned, we got called on as emergency hires, as resource advisors. So we've had a couple crew members acting as that on the monument. I did a 21-day assignment myself, and glad to be able to help out and provide some local knowledge. We have, unfortunately, our masticator is in the shop right now. It's been having problems, but we have completed a few projects. We're still working on Lewiston area, like Richie said. We've got some stuff to finish up on Rush Creek Road, and then we'll head up to the main Lewiston Road and tie it into the freeway. We did complete some mastication work in the Weaverville Community Forest through our CCI grant. It's right above town there, and it looks great. I don't know if anyone's had the opportunity to see it, but you drive by it, and it's a nice ridgetop mastication project. Looks great. We will continue to masticate once we get our project or our machine back and running. We'll head out to Lewiston, finish there, and then go out to Six Rivers National Forest and work on the Mad River Ridge fuel break. Saw crews have been working. Last month we were doing a lot of defensible space work around Hayfork. We kind of got shut down for a little bit and then made our way out to Mad River for a few weeks and did some work out there for those folks. That was positive. We had about 7 or 8 parcels that we treated. And then we have moved into Weaverville for the time being. We're doing a lot of work up East Branch Road at the top there, and we're working our way back down. So RCD did do some work up there a few years ago, mostly a roadside buffer. We're focusing on more landscape stuff around the houses and on the ridge top up there making some piles. So the crew will be out there in Weaverville for the next couple of weeks, and then we're going to do some power line clearing, and we'll move into plantation thinning above Hayfork when we can on the west side plantations once the fire allows us to go in there. We are planning on a busy prescribed burn season. I know that's a contentious subject for the community right now, but we do want to complete up to 200 acres of prescribed burning this fall. We're hoping to target both Tule Creek Ranch in Hayfork and then Jackass Ridge again in Weaverville. So we'll be working on getting those going when we have windows. The technical crews, the forestry crew is still working both with Shasta T and Six Rivers. They are, feverishly trying to wrap up and button up some of the salvage timber sales up there. So, they're doing good work and moving through that stuff pretty fast. So likely to get some sales out soon, hopefully. Bowerman, NEPA, we have initiated kind of left side planning efforts on Bowerman, NEPA. We're in the process of ground truthing treatments and developing the project a little bit more and adding areas, taking areas out and trying to piece that thing together, move forward on, surveys in the spring, botany, as well as, starting our specialist reports on that and getting that project going. So we'll make good strides on that in the coming months, and we'll plan on doing a lot of work on that next year. Well, I'll be working on modifying quite a bit of my projects over the next couple months. Over the last 2 years, basically 80% of my projects on public land have burned. So I still have about $3 million through CAL FIRE Forest Health Grant that will work to do a very big modification on and spend that money the best way we can. Our thoughts are to go as mechanized as possible to the areas where the wood's not going to be utilized, try to figure out something to do with it. So we're going to set up agreements with CAL FIRE to use an air curtain burner. We'll bring it into the county and buy the equipment to run it. So we're going to get an excavator, and we're going to contract with local people who have skidders, and we're going to try to burn as much dead material and biomass as we can in those air curtain burners over the next few years. So quite a bit of work to do on remodifying projects and figuring out where we can go and what we can do. But we're gonna do our best to make the best impact we can. About it for me. And yes, I wish everyone luck in the coming months.
Dill, can you tell everybody what an air curtain burner is?
I think we know.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, Nancy did a presentation on it. If you guys don't, look it up on Google or YouTube. Really cool machines that you can burn for a long time and have minimal smoke impacts. You kind of rethink about how you're staging your fuels and figure out how to get all the fuels to a landing and all that stuff. So it's a little bit, can be complicated at first, but it's a great tool.
The presentation is on the Trinity County Fire Safe Council website, as well as the Trinity County Fire Safe Council Facebook page and the YouTube for any of those interested in finding it.
So Dylan, I got a call before this meeting from Bob Morris. Do you know Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, just give him a call. He's got concerns, and maybe you and or Chris Cole, he's got concerns that the Watershed Center is working and doing the same work the RCD did up East Branch. It sounds like you guys have got different prescriptions that you're working on. But anyway, so his perception is he doesn't understand it. So if you could give him a call, I'd appreciate it. You have
happy to do that. We're definitely a different approach up there, more landscape level stuff on the ridge top, making piles and trying to reduce the fuels up there, not necessarily along the road.
Right. So do you need his number or do you have it?
Can you send me that?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else from the Watershed Center? No. All right, so Cindy, you've been hanging in there from the tribe, the Neural Mook. Do you have any questions or updates that you want to give us?
No, this is my first meeting and I'm just happy to be here, but thank you.
Well, we're glad you're here. I think that's it. The last thing I would say is Bob Morris also sent us a link to a San Francisco Chronicle article that described the benefits of different fuel reduction treatments associated with the Caldor fire. So I think we'll try to email that out to everybody. It's an interesting progression where you see where the fire essentially slowed down when it hit different fuel reduction projects until there was like a red flag day with a lot of wind, a lot of extreme fire activity. And then it moved through or it changed directions. Oh, hey, Deb, you're just joining us.
Yeah, hey, I'm here.
We're just winding up. Do you have an update for the air quality board?
Well, we're going to be out in the area in Weaverville tomorrow looking at the EBAM that's at the courthouse. We've been deploying purple air sensors out there. like crazy. Junction City, Burnt Ranch School, Junction City School, High and Palm, Hay Fork. We're getting them out as quick as we can, and we're just glad the air is clearing up a little over there, and we're watching that fawn fire. So that's about it for me over here.
Well, thanks for installing the monitor at Trinity Center Fire Station. His name is Gizmo. We've named him.
Yeah, they had to replace that, I understood yesterday.
Yeah, he thought he was in Antarctica. It was minus 47 degrees Celsius.
Well, he needed to be retrained then.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for letting us put it out there. Really appreciate everything you do. Thanks, Carol.
Sure. Okay, so anything else for the group? Anything that you want to see on the agenda for 2 months from now? Or next month, sorry. Next meeting is October, is not August 26th. It's October. Amelia, help me out.
October 28th.
Okay. Next meeting, October 28th. Amelia, anything else?
Yeah, so usually around this time of the year, we ask for any updates as to projects completed, future projects being funded and all of that. So I'll get that out to you guys in the next month with the overall GIS format. So just be on the lookout for that. We want to keep our online GIS portal as updated as we can. So the last time we did it was with the CWPP, and so we'll be asking for this year's update shortly.
So related to that, this is also the time of year that I send an email out to gather information on what work has been done, how much money's been spent around the various communities. I know it's a challenge again because of the fires, but I need that to be able to submit our renewals for the Firewise community program. So I'll send an email out asking for that kind of information. It's different than what Amelia's asking for.
Okay, so I think that's it, guys. So we'll see you on October 28th. Thanks.